A phone rings in the middle of an ordinary afternoon. A voice on the other end, calm and cold, delivers 4 words. "We have your family." No greeting, no explanation, just a threat, spoken like a transaction. And the man standing in a school auditorium, late again, juggling 2 lives he can barely hold together, is about to learn exactly how far a person will go when there's nothing left to lose. Meet Detective Chung, divorced, chronically late. The kind of cop who hauls his own washing machine into the police break room because, frankly, the precinct is the only home he's got left. He has 1 daughter, Yeon-ju, and 1 ex-wife, Seon-kyu, now remarried to a soft-spoken veterinarian named Min-sok. Chung-sik calls him dog doctor, like it's an insult. But underneath the bickering sits something rawer, a man terrified of becoming a stranger in his own daughter's life. Across the city, a very different man steps back into the world, Yong-gang, a former crime boss of Incheon, freshly released after a long stretch in prison, ready to reclaim everything that was once his. But the streets moved on without him. A new player runs his old territory now, a flashy operator named Do-jun, who didn't just inherit the business, he rebuilt it, bigger, faster, wired into an AI system worth more money than Yong-gang can even process. Yong-gang walks into Do-jun's headquarters expecting respect. Instead, his name gets mangled, his pride gets bruised, and his offer of partnership gets a polite, dismissive no. He leaves smiling. That smile should worry everyone in the room. Men like Yong-gang don't forget humiliation. They file it away. And wait. Chung-sik finally gets his win. After 2 years of quiet preparation, police take down Do-jun's entire drug operation. Synthetic narcotics disguised as tech equipment, a hostage situation, a dangerous taser call that saves an innocent life and very nearly costs Chung-sik his own. He becomes the hero of the department overnight. Do-jun goes to prison. Case closed, or so it seems. A van forces its way through a quiet market street. 2 people are dragged out, screaming, Seon-kyu and Yeon-ju, Chung-sik's ex-wife and daughter, taken in broad daylight, surrounded by strangers who can do nothing but watch. The call that follows is brutal in its simplicity. A woman's voice. Steady, certain. She tells him she has his family, and she wants only one thing in return, her husband, Do-jun, brought back to her, free and alive. Here's the twist nobody saw coming. Min-sok, the vet, the dog doctor, the man Chung-sik has spent years brushing off, refuses to stay behind. He says the thing that changes everything in a single sentence. Seon-kyu is pregnant. 3 months along. A baby is coming. 2 men who have spent years quietly competing for the same family realize, almost instantly, they aren't rivals anymore. They are the only 2 people on Earth who can save it. So they do the unthinkable. A detective and a veterinarian conspire to break a convicted drug lord out of police custody. They ram a transport van off the road, drag a criminal out of the wreckage like it's the most normal thing in the world, and vanish before backup arrives. It's reckless. It's illegal. It's the only move left on the board. And the very man Chung-sik spent 2 years hunting becomes, against every instinct in his body, the only path back to the people he loves. But Do-jun's wife isn't satisfied with getting her husband back. Halfway through the rescue, the terms change. There's something else she wants first. An object called Nabi. Not drugs, not cash. A small processing unit. The AI engine behind Do-jun's entire criminal empire. Worth, by her own estimate, 100 billion won. Whoever holds Nabi holds everything. And right now, the police are sitting on it without any idea what they actually have. So 3 unlikely men, a detective, a vet, and the criminal they just broke out of custody, sneak back into the very police station that's hunting them, slip past 2 rookie officers with nothing but a bribe of fried chicken, and walk out with a piece of hardware worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. And then comes the second twist. Yong-gang, the bitter ex-boss, humiliated by Do-jun just weeks earlier, has been tailing them this entire time. He isn't law enforcement. He isn't playing rescuer. He sees 3 desperate men carrying a fortune and decides this is his moment to take back everything he believes belongs to him. A high-speed chase erupts through the streets. Drift turns, a near miss with a cat, a van crashed clean through a wall, and it ends with all three men scattered and hunted on foot through back alleys. Do-jun gets shot. Bleeding out in an alley, his only hope rests on the two men he spent the whole film treating as enemies. Min-sok, the vet who has only ever operated on dogs and cats, is told flatly to pretend Do-jun is an injured Doberman. It's absurd. It's also the only thing that works. A makeshift scalpel, improvised CPR, a car battery used like a defibrillator. A man's life saved by two amateurs operating on pure desperation, knowing full well that if Do-jun dies in that alley, two innocent hostages die right alongside him. Do-jun survives the alley, barely, but the moment he's stable, the whole operation feels like it's slipping further out of control, because back at headquarters, the police chief is staring at security footage that makes no sense. A detective, a drug lord, a rival gangster, all caught on the same camera, moving like they're somehow on the same side. The chief starts to wonder the unthinkable. Has Chung-sik been bought? Has their golden boy detective gone rogue? Meanwhile, a reporter named Ara, sharp-tongued, ambitious, and clearly still carrying a flicker of old feelings for Chung-sik, smells something bigger than a routine manhunt. She doesn't know the full story yet, but she knows enough to start digging, and once a reporter like her starts pulling threads, there's no telling what unravels. Yonggang calls new terms, new location, Yonnan Pier, Warehouse 3, bring the AI cube, bring Do-jun. 1 hour. Chung-sik and Min-sok don't have an hour to spare for thinking. They barely have time to drive. They arrive at Warehouse 3, expecting Do-jun's wife. Instead, they find an empty room and a sinking feeling in their stomachs. Because Warehouse 3 was never the real location. It was bait. Yonggang rerouted everything. Yonggang has Chung-sik and Min-seok dragged inside, locked in a freezer designed to kill slowly. He's not interested in killing them fast. 10 years of bitterness deserves a slower kind of revenge, and as the temperature drops and their bodies start to shut down, two men who have spent the whole film as rivals find themselves with nothing left to do but talk. It's in that freezer, half frozen, half delirious, trading terrible jokes just to stay conscious, that something quietly shifts between them. Chung-sik admits he doesn't regret the divorce, not because the marriage failed, but because Sine found real happiness on the other side of it. And in that admission, something even more surprising slips out. He tells Min-sok he likes him. Min-sok says it back. Two men who spent the entire story trading insults, finally meeting as something closer to family. But there's no time to sit in that feeling. Because dying in a freezer means losing everyone they came to save. So they do something reckless and absurd, and somehow exactly in character. They use each other's bodies, frozen joints and all, to pry open a door that should not move. It does, barely, just enough. What they walk into next is chaos in its purest form. Sine and Do-jun's wife, two women who should be enemies, fighting back together against their captors. A reporter sneaking a kidnapped little girl to safety through a maze of warehouses. Do-jun, freshly stitched together by amateur dog surgery, throwing himself back into the fight he nearly died in hours earlier. The fight reaches its breaking point. Yonggang, humiliated twice now, throws every man he has left at Chung-sik and Min-sok. It's brutal, it's messy, it's two exhausted men fighting with nothing but stubbornness left in the tank. And just when the numbers start to overwhelm them, the cavalry arrives in the strangest possible form. Ara, the reporter, throws herself into the chaos with nothing but nerve and a knife she clearly doesn't fully know how to use. Sine, very pregnant and completely unwilling to sit this one out, fights alongside the women who were never supposed to be on the same side. Yonggang goes down hard, cuffed with his own restraints, dragged through the wreckage of a plan that started with humiliation and ends in total defeat. For a moment, it feels like the nightmare is finally over. Then someone asks the question that stops everyone cold. Where's Yeonju? She isn't on land anymore. Do-jun and his wife, fleeing the wreckage of their own criminal empire, took a boat out to open water, and somehow, without anyone realizing it, Yeonju ended up stowed away on board. A little girl, alone, drifting further from everyone who loves her, trapped with two people who have spent the entire film lying, scheming, and surviving on instinct alone. Chung-sik doesn't hesitate. There's no boat, no backup, no plan that makes any logical sense. So he improvises the only way he knows how, strapped into a child's tiny paraglider, launching himself off a pier with absolutely no training and even less common sense. Min-sok follows, because of course he does. These two have stopped being rivals a long time ago. It should be a disaster. It almost is. But somewhere between the screaming and the wind, and the genuine fear that this plan was always going to end in tragedy, they make it. They land on the boat, and there she is, Yeonju, confused, scared, but alive, calling out for the only word that matters in that moment, Daddy. What happens next isn't really a fight anymore, it's a reckoning. Do-jun and his wife, finally cornered, finally out of moves, surrounded by the very people they spent the whole film trying to use and discard. And in the middle of it, three voices say the exact same sentence, almost in unison, without anyone planning it that way. Don't touch her, a detective, a veterinarian, and a little girl who, for the first time, isn't asking anyone to choose between her two fathers. She doesn't have to, she already has both. Do-jun and his wife don't get the ending they planned. No empire, no fortune, no quiet escape with the AI cube tucked safely away. Just two people, finally caught, finally out of moves, surrounded by the very family they tried to use as leverage. Yonggang fares even worse, dragged off in his own handcuffs, his comeback lasting barely a single day. Sometimes revenge isn't sweet, sometimes it's just slower than the people you're chasing. Back on solid ground, the truth comes spilling out, not through interrogation, but through a little girl standing at a podium. Yeonju's English speech contest, the one her father almost missed at the very start of this story, finally gets its moment. She talks about having two dads, one with a killer smile, one who's gentle and kind. She says she's twice as happy because of it. No confusion, no conflict, just a kid who watched two grown men nearly die for her and somehow understood, before either of them fully did, that family was never about choosing sides. Chung-sik and Min-sok don't go back to pretending to hate each other. Something in that freezer changed for good. They trade barbs, sure, old habits don't disappear overnight, but underneath it now sits something steadier, respect, maybe even something close to brotherhood. Ara, the reporter who almost got herself killed chasing a story, finally gets her moment with Chung-sik. Not a headline, not an exclusive, just a quiet question about a smile he's been hiding behind sarcasm this entire time. For once, he doesn't deflect. You know you have to subscribe, right? Click that subscribe button now. Please? Sometimes the most chaotic, reckless, completely out of control rescue mission in the world ends with the simplest lesson of all. Love doesn't subtract, it multiplies. Thank you for watching till the end. See you in the next recap. Bye guys!